Yeah.
Oh my God, wait, look at this. How do you feel about coconut water?
I think it's disgusting.
You think so? I thought so for a
I
while.
I don't think it tastes very good. I think people have just convinced themselves that it tastes good.
I'd encourage you to give it a try as like again, as an adult.
I just have no desire to taste it.
Come on, just try.
Although it's something that I have thought about that I'd have to really reconsider. As you know, that one of my long-term goals has always been to go on Survivor, and one of the main
Oh
sustenance that they
yeah,
have there is
coconuts.
coconut.
So you're trying to
So
train yourself to like it?
yeah, but I'm not going to train myself unless I need it. I need to. I'm
Oh, so you
not
have to
going to
be.
preemptively train.
You're like, I need to be cast, and
Right. Then I'll reconsider it.
then you'll go get the shredded coconut from the baking section
Yeah.
at the
Yeah,
local Whole Foods.
I'll have to get the unsweetened.
You gotta get them sweetened,
I
dry.
don't think
It's gonna
they
taste
don't
like
have
wood
sugar
chips.
packets.
Don't you dare toast it, because there's no ovens in Survivor.
There's a fire.
I mean, good luck toasting it with no pan.
True. True, true.
Oh my
Well,
gosh. Hey, everybody, what's up? Your two favorite passengers of the Star vehicle are in the car.
that's right. We're here
We're here.
in the car.
I'm driving. Steven's in the passenger seat.
You would probably drive.
I
You
would probably drive.
You would probably drive. I would probably sit. Yeah, you're right. I would probably sit in the passenger seat.
That's just what I thought. That's what I saw in my mind's eye. I was like, I'd be driving. No big deal. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
You're a better navigator.
I could see that. I mean,
Yeah.
a past roommate of mine and we
Ooh.
had a serious discussion about that one time because we were applying to
Serious.
be on The Amazing Race, and we didn't make it. But we did say that it would be better TV if I drove because
It'd be funnier.
I it, I just know that like I need silence to focus on the road. I don't like a lot of interruptions. So I think that if someone was constantly shoving a map in my face, it would be a mess.
I do agree it would be better TV. Also, I feel like just in general, a lot of like shrieking and
Shrieking.
some like narrow like
And what's funny about The Amazing Race is that obviously it needs to be filmed, otherwise we wouldn't be able to see it. So the cameraman sits in the passenger seat, and then your teammate sits behind
in the
you.
back.
So there's nothing more annoying than someone in the back seat giving you instructions.
Backseat driving. It's a
Backseat
thing.
driving, that's right. That's what it's called. And
I'm dying to know which
I
roommate
think it would
this
be a good
was.
idea. We sent in what I thought was a really great audition tape, and we didn't hear anything.
I want to see that, but I'm like ferociously racking my brain for which roommate this could be because I'm like, there's some that really wouldn't work.
It's the most recent one.
Okay.
So it would have worked quite well.
It would have worked very well.
Because our favorite video of all time, and if you're an Amazing Race fan, you'll know this, is a scene where they had people. I didn't really understand the link to British history, but their task was to launch watermelons from a catapult into a field to knock targets over.
British history.
And one lady, as she winds up the watermelon, it flies out and then it catches it on the other side and flings it back into her face, and the watermelon smashes on her face. It's on, and then she's literally
Did she
concussed.
get really hurt? Yeah, that sounds
Yeah, the watermelon
bad.
smacked against her face and splattered.
Ugh.
And
Sounds like a tire to the
her
face.
her partner was like looking at her, kind of giving her the once over. The girl's obviously concussed, and her teammate was like, "You have to finish. Like you have to keep going." So she did.
Those
she did.
reality
She
TV
launched.
shows are scary.
So scary.
Like a show like Wipeout, where you can have a concussion. You have to you want to try to finish.
You could have a concussion from that, but you are also going to have injuries that are going to creep up later in life.
Little
Like,
whiplash, little spinal cord injury. Yeah, that show's so scary. Wipeout. Oh my god.
Even better, I guess, I don't know if they did a second season of it, but I did enjoy that show on Netflix, The Floor is Lava.
Oh,
where
yeah. That was fun. That
that
was
was
fun.
fun.
That was like all in good fun.
It
It
was all
wasn't
in
too dangerous, you know?
It was all in good fun. But my favorite part about that show is that they filmed it and the people acted in such a way where it was sort of unclear, especially in the first episode, if the people actually thought the floor was lava, because when people would fall, the screams were like were death screams.
It reminds me of being a kid again because you would play that game and
Yeah.
I would scream bloody murder if I
Yeah.
fell off the couch.
So it was.
It's too good.
I think I knew that it wasn't lava, obviously, but it definitely makes you question
I was
it
like, "Is it a little
based
hot?
on the
Is it a little warm?"
based on the way that these adults and their adults were behaving.
I in those situations, I'm always putting myself in the show. I'm like, could I make everything a competition, and I would just be
Yeah.
a nightmare on this show. Also, I'm 4 feet tall, so I couldn't like hop
You would be
the lily
you would
pads.
honestly be useless. You would be useless.
I'd be useless. I do know
We
this.
would have you go first just to be like
Pick up
the
my
pawn.
slack. You drag me. You'd be dragging me through.
I wouldn't want to do that with you. I would probably just use you as a test dummy and say, go give it your best shot. We know you're going to fall, but at least you can just
We want to
suss
see
out the course.
Yeah, we want to see. Last week you said that I didn't
Yeah,
walk
it's like a
the
roller
course.
coaster.
You
I
said
want
I
you to
didn't.
go on.
Me first. Oh,
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I'm fine. I would be useless on those shows. You can't be 4 feet tall and do Wipeout, Floor's Lava, any of these. Legends of the Hidden Temple. Remember when we were kids?
No, I wouldn't want you on my team either.
Or Guts, the aggro crag. It's just like I can't reach a lot of places, which sucks.
I do remember thinking growing up, I hope one day I get to a point where I'm brave enough to go on Fear Factor.
Wait, I feel like every early 2000s kid ever thought that. And you're like, oh,
Like,
but I couldn't eat the spiders. I just
I
couldn't.
couldn't do it. And I was like, maybe one day I'll get there.
I
Maybe
used
one
to
day
think
fear
that.
won't be a factor for me.
One could only hope. And now look what happened with Joe Rogan. So
I know. It still is.
Fall from grace.
It still is a factor for me.
fear is still
If not
very much a
more.
factor. I remember just watching that show being like, I could lay in a freezing cold tank of snakes, but I didn't
Yeah.
want to do the eating. I never wanted to do the eating.
The eating, I think I could do
so
the eating.
gross.
I don't think I could do the ones where they do like coffin style and they fill it with like a charcuterie of
Worms.
bugs.
Yeah, that's
I definitely couldn't do that.
claustrophobic for certain.
No.
What a freaking time. What a time
Yeah.
in television. We
Well-
don't have anything like that.
No, not like Fear Factor.
It was
But it's
like,
interesting to think.
extreme.
It's interesting to think that while people were watching Fear Factor, they also had the opportunity to go to the movie theaters and see The Wedding Planner. It's the same time period.
Same years.
Or
Same
Survivor, at least. I mean, we're back in 2001.
Back in 2001. Guys, we always hope our intros kind of put you in the headspace of the time.
That's right. And
And-
that was not even intentional, but it just really flowed.
No, it totally works. It's like, yeah, take a trip back 20 years ago. Put yourself in that.
Wow,
You're
20
staying
years
up.
ago.
You're staying up primetime network television slot. Is it network? I don't know. To watch Fear Factor.
Fear
Because you
Factor
never
was
missed an
network.
episode.
No.
And that Friday, you're going to go head up the local Cineplex for
That's
The
right.
Wedding Planner
For The Wedding Planner.
with Matthew McConaughey. Well, J-Lo
That's right.
first. I'm pissed I didn't say
It's a
J-Lo first.
yeah, it's starring J-Lo,
This is a J-Lo movie.
obviously.
Duh. Who's supposed to be the star? Matthew? Ugh.
That's right.
He looks terrible in this.
His look wasn't my favorite.
It's shabby.
And something about the clothing he was wearing, his proportions were all over the place.
Not my fave. Not my fave.
I don't know where he got those pants from, but they fit him so bizarrely. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Me neither. I don't even remember the early 2000s. I don't remember men looking like that. I'm like, ugh.
I thought J-Lo looked so wonderful. I thought she looked stunning and still very now.
oh my God, I'm happy that we're back on the JLo train.
Same. It felt like a
Felt
return
like too
to home.
long. Yeah, this is a return to me, return to home.
Right. Our favorite Italian American.
Our favorite Italian American, Mary Fiore. Mary Fiore. She is a timeless beauty. Timeless.
That's right.
She doesn't age, and her look doesn't look out of place. And it looks like she could be wearing everything she wore in this movie tomorrow.
Yeah, it was the same thing that happened with Made in Manhattan, where she just didn't feel dated in the way that some of these other costumes do for movies that came out in the 2001 and 2002 time. I mean, Matthew McConaughey's weird frosted tipped hair dates him almost to a day.
I was going to say, it puts him in an 18-month time span.
Right. So
it carbon dates him to that time.
Absolutely. That is his rings on a tree. Like, I know exactly where he is. So
yeah, I could count back to the day.
It was refreshing to see J-Lo because she just felt so timeless. And we'll get to it, but I think the only thing that did date her was the microphone headset that she was wearing.
The Britney Spears headset.
It was that.
It was very Lizzie McGuire movie.
That definitely grounded me in the time, but otherwise it felt eternal.
This felt eternal.
Yeah, so obviously we're going to talk about the wedding planner.
Yes.
And why don't we start with just a quick synopsis. And then we'll get into it.
All right, I'm so down. I did practice this one before we got on.
Oh, okay.
Because I was going to say there's one actress in here who I've never heard of in my whole life.
Okay.
So, okay.
Jennifer Lopez.
She's 5'2".
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Production summary for the wedding planner. While celebrating her newest and most lucrative account, the wedding of internet tycoon Fran Donnelly, played by Bridget Wilson Sampras, Mary, played by Jennifer Lopez, is rescued from a near-fatal collision with a runaway dumpster by a handsome pediatrician, Stephen Edison, played by Matthew McConaughey. After spending the most enchanting evening of their lives together, Mary thinks she's finally found a reason to believe in love. What she doesn't know is that Cupid and her career are about to collide. Head on.
Head on. That's right.
This is so good.
Every time I think about that runaway dumpster.
Head on, baby.
Head on.
That was scary.
I mean,
so
she
scary.
Almost died. It was a near fatal
almost
collision.
Died. When we get to it, man, I just remember thinking, okay, so when I fell last week, when we talked about my unfortunate rollerblading accident, I just remember how much I was trembling.
That's right.
And I was like, oh, I know that feeling. I was there. She's trembling.
She's trembling. She was pretty much out of it, but we are getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. I can't wait.
We're going to jump into the wedding planner. And before we start, we haven't really talked about titles in a while, but I don't know. Okay, this probably isn't even funny at all, but it was the only thing that I kept thinking about, and it did make me laugh. The title is The Wedding Planner.
Yes.
And again, we might have to cut this if it doesn't even make any sense.
I'm ready.
But I just kept thinking to myself, what if it was called A Wedding Planner? Because
just any old wedding planner.
That's what she is. She's a wedding planner.
She's not the wedding.
And I was affirmed in my first instinct when we get to the corporate headquarters and we find out that she's really one of many
wedding planners.
It's the law firms of wedding planners.
Yes. So make me partner. I was like, I didn't even know that was the language that we use around wedding planning.
I did that at a wedding planning firm. So I don't know why, but I just couldn't get out of my head where I'm just like, a wedding planner. She's a wedding planner. But I think what the movie is suggesting, and I think what it is asking us to consider, is that she's not just a wedding planner.
No.
She is the wedding planner.
She's the one you want. That's the
right.
one.
She's really good at her job.
Was eerily close to her in Made in Manhattan when she's the maid in Manhattan.
That's what I'm saying. This movie, and we've talked about this before when we talked about other J-Lo vehicles.
Good.
But if there's one thing that we know about Jennifer Lopez, it's that she loves to explore work.
What it means to go to work. She's a working girl.
And she really does a deep dive into what it's like to be a wedding planner. Or sorry, the wedding planner.
The wedding planner. I found the messaging to be... It's so weird that I'm even bringing it up now. Every star vehicle is uniquely capitalistic, or not uniquely. It's all deals in capitalism, but she's the wedding planner. She is a running to and fro. It's like a war room. She's a belt of supplies.
Yeah, she's a belt with supplies.
Oh, she's
that she discharges at her will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the movie opens and we get a really great like tracking shot of her putting out all these fires at a wedding simultaneously.
Oh wait, we can't skip the childhood opening. She's playing with dolls.
Oh, right.
We have to just at least mention it because in typical star vehicle fashion, we could either get a slideshow over opening credits, or we could get like a scene, and they gave us a scene, which is nice.
Right, and this is again a technique we've seen a lot before, which is that in a star vehicle, you either get a slideshow or you get one informative childhood experience,
just one
that impacted their entire life.
Yes, and this happened to be some solo play.
Yeah,
just her playing by herself with some Barbies.
That's right.
Barbie doesn't even look like her. I mean, that's not her fault. It's just Barbie.
No.
And
they didn't have an Italian Barbie.
They didn't have an Italian Barbie at the time. Darker haired Italian Barbie. And she's making him kiss. There's like a love song playing, and she's basically acting out a wedding with her Barbies. Right. And then it's dissolved to, boom, adult J-Lo, hair slicked back, putting out fires left and right at a wedding.
Right. And I mean, from everything from a bride who doesn't want to walk down the aisle because she thinks she's overweight to a woman bizarre. Sitting in front of her direct view camera. And I guess what they're implying is like a drunk father of the bride who is not ready to walk down the aisle with his daughter. And I thought she was a little harsh on the priest who she didn't let go to the bathroom.
You can't
go, Father. You're not ready.
You're not ready.
But
this was intense. Also, the woman who's afraid that she's overweight, J-Lo goes, I overheard some people over there saying, look at her thighs. I wish I had her thighs.
Something you can't see in a wedding dress.
I want to go on record saying, not only can you not see thighs in a wedding dress, no woman on the face of the planet Earth wants to hear that you think she has nice thighs. That's not the compliment we're looking for.
Yeah,
you could say I have nice legs.
I think toned arms would have been the right compliment on your wedding day when you're wearing a strapless dress.
Look at those strong shoulders.
But not too strong.
Not too strong. Dainty in all the right places. That you lean.
So she's running this wedding.
Yes.
And we also get some other characters looking at her and being like, wow, she must lead the most romantic life of anyone.
Yep.
Which unfortunately isn't true.
They're really trying to play with opposites too up top. They're like, look at how calm, cool, and collected J-Lo is, and look at how crazy Judy Greer is, her partner.
Judy Greer
She's nuts.
She's doing a nutty performance.
Nutty.
She's a total kook in the movie. And I wish that in Halloween and Halloween Kills, I wish that this was the Judy Greer that we got.
I wish that's who showed up to set.
Yeah, what happened to her? That would have been so much more fun if she was like a kook. Like she is in this movie.
Yeah, Judy Greer had a real moment in the early 2000s, and I'm just like, bring her back. Like, I want that Judy Greer. I want 13 going on 30.
Yeah.
Wedding planner. Kooky
She's
Judy
so fun
Greer.
in this.
She's so fun. Now, I did think we'd see her more. She's not in it very much.
No, we don't see her that much. And again, she fulfills a classic best friend role in a J-Lo movie, which is forcing J-Lo to do things that she normally wouldn't want to do.
Yeah.
Mainly having a date, but
getting her out of her box, her shell.
Yeah. So making decisions for J-Lo, and she does that. So I guess she satisfies the J-Lo best friend rule.
Yeah, she did her job. I'm still team Leah Remini forever.
Oh, Leah's the peak J-Lo best friend.
Yeah, like if you want, okay, so we're okay, this is an announcement we haven't announced yet. We're making a Star Vehicle dictionary that you can buy, and if you look up the best friend role, Leah Remini is just there.
Is just there. She really did the best performance in second act. Mm-hmm. So
that's what we're referring to. Also head back to that episode if you haven't heard it.
Yeah, this builds on the work we've done there.
Yeah, it builds.
Yeah, the wedding goes off without a hitch.
Of course. J-Lo's giving one of her world famous speeches, by the way, which we have to mention because it will come back. Bride with cold feet, and she's going, in the other room, I heard your groom say, wow, I can't believe she picked me. And it was at this point in my notes I wrote, so J-Lo's a liar. She's a liar.
She lied, and again, this is where I really continue to have that struggle between the wedding planner and a wedding planner.
Yes.
Because, and granted, we didn't see the reception, which is where I really think a wedding planner gets to flex their muscles. We really only got to see the ceremony. And in terms of wedding standards, this was a ceremony. This wasn't the ceremony.
It was just a ceremony.
It was at a church, and it didn't. I didn't get the over the top like wedding planner that I would have liked to have seen. And I think they could have, if they would have focused on the reception, I think it would have given us a better idea of what Jennifer brought to the table.
I know. I consistently throughout this movie, much like the lawyer
we didn't really
work.
See her do any weddings.
That's what I'm saying. Much like the lawyer work in 2 weeks' notice. In this movie, it's like the day that the wedding is the day that the wedding planner is kind of chilling. It's like, show us the setup even. Show me 3 hours before the wedding when she's putting up all the flowers.
Exactly. Because we only see one reception in the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And that reception is out of control, and people are throwing plates against the walls
at the Ritz-Carlton.
That's right. So, not that I want to see her in the trenches, laboring for an hour and a half, but I think it would have been nice to have seen a little wedding planning.
Yeah. Show me that you called the venue and it's booked up, and then show me her sweet talking somebody.
Like, let's see the connections. Let's see how this works. But, I guess that we're just supposed to be dazzled by her skills in navigating her headset, that we know that she's serious.
They're kind of like making wedding planning seem like it's you're in a war room. And she's calling attacks or something. Like, yes, okay, flying in, blah, blah, blah. It's like they're doing that mapping. And I'm like, okay, all right.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that movie Eye in the Sky with Helen Mirren. Like, she is going to drop a bomb, and she's going to do it from the convenience of her headset. But I'm
not laughing at the bomb.
No, bombs are so bad.
Bombs are not funny.
They're not funny at all. Okay, so the wedding goes off without a hitch in the eyes of the audience.
In the eyes of the audience, yeah.
We know from J-Lo that there were so many near misses.
There were many hitches.
But J-Lo goes home for what I can only describe as my dream night.
Scrabble!
No, this is when she goes home and makes herself a TV dinner and watches Antiques Roadshow, vacuums the house, and goes to bed early.
It is a dream night. For you and me.
Well, which is also kind of funny because I was like, this is where I don't think J-Lo was fully informed as to what a wedding planner does, because the reception is still going on. You're not home early.
If your wedding's still going on.
If the wedding's still going on.
Because don't you have to clean up? At that rate, we have to see her clean.
You're there. I just think that your services are going to be needed at the reception. Yeah. Yeah. So, although I mean, I appreciated the scene of her watching Antiques Roadshow.
Me too.
But I'm
an American Pickers girl, but same.
Well, yeah, I just think we could have swapped that scene for a scene of her just like truly like cleaning up after a night of this super fun reception, and everybody goes home. They're in such a good mood.
They're all
and
thanking
there's
her out the
J-Lo,
door.
like
They're
with
like,
one
Mary,
of those like,
great job. Thank you.
and like everybody leaves, and J-Lo from her utility belt like snaps open this like one of those like grabbers that you use to get things off of high shelves, and she just walks around with a plastic bag and picks up trash.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
nice.
to me would have been a wonderful scene.
And like we linger on her face in close up as she's looking at two people very much in love, and then she's like, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Fade out. Next
Fade
scene.
out. But you're right. After that,
They're
then
trying to
she
be like,
has-
look at this spinster going home alone. That's what they went for.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. But you're right that the next day she's in good spirits because she's going to go play Scrabble with, I guess, at a senior center or with her dad.
Some
I
sort
think
of
we didn't know
home.
it was her dad at first, but then because he's Italian, and then it's not until the scene that we've realized that she also is Italian.
Also Italian. It took me a long time to get the Italian thing. I didn't get it at this scene. I got it later. I did get it was her father.
Well, you're right. We do see that it's her father, and I think your first inclination is not to say, oh, he must be Italian, so J-Lo must be Italian.
Yeah, no. That's
I
not where
think
you
that-
go.
Right. So it's not until
I figured out
later.
when I texted you J-Lo's Italian in all caps last night, that was like an hour and a half in.
Yeah. It is shocking. Well, the
It was
movie's an
late.
hour and a half, so that's
Okay,
a
so
little
that
late.
doesn't track. It was like 45 in.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
scene was cute. Okay, she's building a word in Scrabble, earwax,
Right.
and they're mad at her. But I'm dead because the dad at one point very quickly goes, I found you a man who's agreed to marry you, which takes away all of her agency in this scenario, which I thought was
Right.
very funny.
Right.
And the old woman across goes, oh my God, if her mother was alive. And then I went, okay, dead mother.
Dead mom, classic
Star
in a
vehicle.
J-Lo.
Classic J-Lo. And I went, okay, and this is dad.
This is dad, and mom is dead, and she has had no luck with finding love. Now, I will say that what I think they were implying is that she's a loser because she likes to play Scrabble. Now,
Me too. That's exactly what I
you
thought.
might not know this about me, but I was the founder and president of my high school Scrabble club. So I
Wow.
resent that characterization.
Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank
a title.
Thank you. Well, you know what it was? It was the age of college applications where you just, I think, like what was communicated was that the best thing you could have on your resume was like a club that you started and
Oh.
grew.
I
And
didn't
I
get
was
that
like-
memo.
I was like, the only club that I would want to be in would be a Scrabble club. And I remember I went and I filed the registration form, and you had, part of the condition is that you had to meet with the principal, and he was like, do you really think there's going to be students that want to join a Scrabble club? And I was like, I think so.
A principal
I
just
think so.
discouraging somebody from starting anything to me is so funny. Like
It's so funny.
at that
Well, you know
level
why?
too. Like
Because
17.
I think it was because of Title IX, but every club had to be given equal funding.
Oh
So
my God. So he's like,
it
really,
was like
bitch?
National Honor Society got the same amount of funding as Scrabble Club.
You're a
So,
hero. You
I was
are a
like-
suburban hero.
That's right. Now and one of the things that you could use the money for was like, club t-shirts or something like that.
Jackets. Letterman jackets.
But I had submitted my design and it was rejected because I thought, along with my friend, I think we came up with this together. I thought a funny t-shirt would be CV West, that was high school, Scrabble Club. And then
That was the high school.
and then it would be the rack of letters, right? The rack of letters, and underneath I thought it would say, show us your rack.
And it was rejected.
It was rejected. And then get this.
Amazing.
Get this.
That's
After it was
amazing.
rejected, this other girl in the club. By the way, there's like 15 people in the club, no big deal. And
So the principal
this
is
other
wrong.
this other girl tried to do a coup, and she tried to take over the club
No.
because she saw that like
Was having
because of my
success.
failed t-shirt, that there was like the potential to usurp my power so that she could write on her college application that she was the president.
Oh, that's not
But
fair. You filed the paperwork.
I filed the paperwork. So
She needs to go back to the drawing. She needs to go back to step one.
yeah, she needs to
meet with the principal and get told,
she needs to
are
meet
you
with the
sure?
principal. Are you sure? So part of me just wishes I would have gone out on my own and procured those shirts, but
Yeah, from
they
a
never
third
came
party.
to fruition.
That would have been nice. We used to get in trouble for shirt designs all the time. We had an
Right.
academic club, and it was on the back. They thought it'd be so funny to write "spell check can't fix stupid," and we got in trouble for it. I'm like, really? Okay, it's true.
I remember that I did run a book club at my last job, and I made
course.
shirts for that too for the staff members.
Let's get
and-
shirts.
Right.
I'm writing it
we
down.
should. But I was like, okay, here we go again. I have to submit my t-shirt design to the boss, to the principal. And I thought it'd be funny if on the shirt, and I was like, bookmarks are for quitters. And I was like, is that too edgy? It wasn't.
That's the perfect amount of edgy for high school. That's like
Yeah, that's
middle
right.
school edgy.
Middle school edgy. So
Bookmarks
I
are for
learned my
quitters.
lesson is that from CBS Scrabble Club, show us your rack, to book clubs are for quitters. I found the balance. It only took me 20 years.
Show us your rack. It's so funny.
It's so funny. And it's like, that's what I thought was so good is I thought if we put the tile rack, then it's like,
Then we get it.
then we get it. Guys, come on.
It's a visual joke.
It's a
Punchline
gag. It's
on
a gag.
the shirt. That
So-
is so funny.
When I saw the Scrabble scene, I thought,
You lit
know
up like
what?
a Christmas
Actually, some of
tree.
the coolest people that I know play Scrabble. So
I got a lot of
So-
anxiety from that. I just remember being like sitting in a kitchen around a table with my parents and probably me sobbing because I couldn't come up with something. A lot of
Yeah,
tears. A lot of
it's-
tears.
it's hard.
It's tough.
So anyway, you're right. She is told that it's out of her hands and she's gonna have to marry this guy. And then we find out from J-Lo's oral history that he ate dirt as a kid, right? Ate mud.
Oh, Massimo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause she's-
He's they're trying to paint him as like a real country bumpkin out in Italy.
Oh, right.
They grew up together or as friends together, and they met in Italy, and he was like, like a weirdo little boy who was like eating dirt and doing weird shit.
Eating dirt and doing weird stuff, but
he's
it was
hot
like,
now.
but these are things that I guess a child would do.
Yeah, a
I
7-year-old
felt
kid
it was
would
a
do
little
these.
inappropriate of J-Lo to bring that up at the Scrabble table, just because it felt like she was.
It's like, did you not grow up? Do you not
That's what I'm
understand
saying.
what growing up means?
I was like, you're not dating a toddler.
Yeah,
Like,
you're not dating
he's-
the 7-year-old.
And I was like, let's talk about you, sweetheart, playing with your dolls late at night like a loser.
Let's talk
Like,
about your
that's what
Barbie
he
scene.
Yeah. So anyway, he comes in. He looks great.
Very
and,
cute. So cute.
And this is something I really struggled with the whole movie is that and this is rare for me, like I really found myself gravitating towards like the third party players. Like I really liked him, and I especially like Fran. Like these
we
characters to
love
me,
Fran.
I love Fran. I thought she was like the best character in the movie. So it was weird because they were clearly banking on J-Lo's star power to fill in the blanks where it's like you're always going to be on her side, and you are rooting for her.
You are. She's gorgeous. Yeah.
But I think to your point, like setting it up where he's a freak because he ate dirt once as a kid
when he was 7, yeah, no, it doesn't work.
doesn't translate to I should be repulsed by this adult.
Yeah, exactly right. Couple of script missteps so far, honestly.
Well, yeah.
Show us
I
the
think
reception.
That's a big one.
That's a
That
big
is
one.
I
And-
think Big Bridal would want to see that.
And like, if you want, here's an idea. How about don't comment on his character at all? Just say, Dad, I'm not marrying someone that you just like arranged for me to marry. This, this
Okay.
isn't
That's a
1950.
good point. You're right. The problem is that
Give her some agency.
she doesn't have a choice. But then we end up forgetting that because he seems really nice and normal.
Yeah.
And we end up looking at J-Lo being like,
What's wrong
he's
with
so
you?
nice. What's wrong with you for being so mean to him?
Yeah. A lot of these early 2000s movies and star vehicles in general, I think they just bank on the idea that you're just going to not look into it. You're like, ugh.
Yeah.
You're just going to look the other way and just accept that this is the kooky reality we're in, which this is the movie Judy Greer's acting in. So,
yeah, Judy's full kook. And luckily in the next scene, we get to see
her.
Judy. We get to see her again because we're off to...
We're back at the
and
firm.
This was a shock. We're off to the firm.
We're at the firm. Shocking.
And again, it looked like a law firm. There were hundreds of people that worked there. The lobby,
many wedding planners.
you're lucky if you could get a word in with the secretary. Like,
let alone the owner of the company named Jerry.
And this was like one of those scenes where I'm like, I thought I knew what was going on, but I didn't.
No.
When she throws open the door to the grand office and someone's sitting in her chair,
Oval Office.
I was like, who is that sitting in J-Lo's chair? Only to find out
Not J-Lo's
it's
chair.
J-Lo's boss sitting in the right chair.
J-Lo's boss in her chair.
In her chair. And it's Kathy and Najimy.
Yeah.
And
she's amazing.
Doing a great job as her boss.
Also, I'm positive I'm the only one who picked up on this. Was she drinking milk? Looked like a cup of milk.
Whatever she was drinking, Judy Greer was also drinking because they were acting in the same movie.
They were in the same movie. Yes.
I was like, if anybody should work at this firm, it's Judy Greer because it's kookadoodle-doo.
Yeah. At that point in my notes, I wrote, "Wow, career women." That's all that they were just trying to smack you over the head with that. There's wardrobe racks just flying left, right. Fast-paced walking, fast-paced talking. I was like, this is Gilmore Girls level dialogue between Judy Greer.
It's women-owned business.
Yeah, Judy Greer and J-Lo. Just chat, 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 chat.
Chat. Oh yeah. Talking over each other, not listening, just talking.
Just for the sake of talking, like women do.
Like women do, and like it's so confusing because again, we're not in Big Bridal, but I assume that this is not the case for most wedding planning firms, that they operate as firms like this. But
this is a conglomerate.
We find out that this is indeed this is her business. And as we learn from J-Lo, we learn that maybe she must employ, I don't know, 100 wedding planners, and only J-Lo is the only one who brings in any money, to the firm.
She brings in all the accounts.
All the accounts. She's like, I bring in what everybody else makes. And she's like, I know that. And then J-Lo goes, times 5. Oof. And she's like, ugh.
I'm like, yeah, J-Lo, go off and start your own firm. It makes no sense why you're still here.
Okay, that's what I didn't understand either, because
she says it. She's like, I'm going to go off.
Yeah, she's like, you would never. And J-Lo's, watch me. And I really wanted to say to her, okay, you should go. Like, you should actually go. Because no one hires J-Lo in this movie because of the firm.
No, not at all.
They hire her because...
on her name, Mary
on
Fiore.
Her name. So it's funny,
the
though,
Italian
because...
name.
Yeah, it's funny, though, because when she's in the meeting, she also, like, doesn't resist a chance to make fun of Kathy and Jimmy and her lack of business, like, prowess. She's like, you didn't make $1 until I joined this firm. Like, your business. I was like, wow, that's really an inappropriate way to talk to your boss, let alone soon to be partner. So
yeah, they're really putting a fine point on partner. And spoiler alert, we never even really get to see her. We never find out she made partner.
We never find out she made partner. But I also, when I was watching the scene, and again, this is where I was wrong for the second time in the scene, I really thought it was going to be a movie where, and we've seen this before, where Kathy looks at her and it's just like, okay, you can go.
Leave.
Because there really is no reason for her to stay. And from a plot perspective, you only add more if she's on her own. So it was strange because...
like going home, eating alone, watching Antiques Roadshow, it's like another opportunity to show, look, I'm alone.
Right.
Bye.
And as we see with her her gauntlet that she throws down is that if I land this account, I should be partner. But
They're
as we
trying to
see
give
in
it
like the
stakes.
right, but as we
Yeah.
see in like the next 15 minutes, the effort that she needs to land that account is minimal.
Almost not at all. She's
Almost
sold
nothing
the
at
account
all.
already on her name alone.
Right.
And
So,
who she's worked for.
Right. So, not that I wanted to see her trash this business and see it go under. It was just a weird
She writes a
it was a weird
scathing
way to
Yelp
approach
review.
it. To be like, she has no other options. She has to work here.
I was
Very odd.
loving. Very quickly thereafter, we meet Fran, right?
We meet Fran,
her family, and they're looking for a wedding planner. This is the big account. This is the big account that J-Lo needs to win.
Right.
I forget what they're calling. Is it the Edison account, or I don't remember.
I think that's Matthew McConaughey's last name. I think it's the other name that I forget the name.
The wedding near fatal collision. I'm reading our synopsis to see if it's in there. Whatever. It's the wedding of Fran.
It's the I think what's important to know about Fran
Donnelly.
is that it's her family that has the money.
Yes.
Like, they are wealthy. They are society people. And this again took me a minute, but we are in San Francisco. So these are
a great locale.
and yeah, so this
home
is
to the sweetest thing, 4 Christmases, and the wedding planner.
That's right. So these are San Franciscan royalty. These people, I guess they sort of imply they're in tech, which I guess makes sense. And I guess it was very of the time. Like, this is .com era.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, she's like starting this internet startup thing for healthcare or something.
Something boring.
Something boring. But you're right. Like, she meets this family at another event that she's throwing, which, again, show us the event. They don't. And and this is how I don't think this is how it works with wedding planners. But
this is going to be great.
The parents and the woman look at her. They stand all in a line, like Sound of Music, and they look at her and they're like, so
what would you
tell
do?
us about what would you do for our wedding? And J-Lo does, and we've talked about this before. This is my least favorite J-Lo acting, when she does her soft acting voice.
Yeah.
She goes, I see for you
Tahitian.
White tents, just sheer enough so you can see the stars. And the movie gives us a huge relief because they fade her voice out.
Get me out of this scene.
Get me out of this scene.
What did I write?
It was like it was truly so painful.
I wrote,
because it was.
Yeah, go ahead, finish.
Well, I was just thinking that there's this is not how it works. You don't go to a woman and say, you tell us
about my wedding.
About my wedding.
I was like, are wedding planners supposed to give their vision like this? I go, isn't this the bride's job? I go, is this how she's going to win this account, by giving her idea of Fran's wedding? I'm like, don't you have to listen to Fran and then be like, yes?
Yeah, you absolutely need to listen to Fran. And that's a big problem in the movie. No one listens to Fran.
Yeah, no one's listening to Fran. Poor Fran.
But the way that this vision for what I could only describe as the most generic wedding ever comes to J-Lo is like, it's almost like she's having a seance. Like, it's like her eyes roll in the back of her head and she walks away from the group. I'm sure they can't even hear her. She's whispering. She's like 10 feet away and she's describing white tents.
She's becoming the wedding planner.
And like I said, the movie does us a huge solid because they fade out from it.
Yeah.
And
I nailed it, Jerry.
We don't have to hear it. What?
I feel like the very next scene is her going, I nailed it, Jerry. I got the account.
Yeah, she has.
So
she's
she gets
very
it.
proud of herself.
If you ever doubted for 1 second that she was not going to get this account, you're watching the wrong movie.
That's right. And this is where though, I think it would have been really interesting or more satisfying is if she had quit in the past scene and she nailed this on her own.
Then she can like dangle it in front of Jerry's face.
Yeah, or like start up J-Lo weddings, like something in her own name. But you're right, weddings. She has to call Kathy and Jimmy to be like, I did it. And
so I'm like, did she just become partner in minute 20 of the movie? Maybe.
Unclear.
We'll never
and this is something we never see in movies, but I wish we would get these details. Like, let's get down to the brass tacks. How much does this cost?
Yeah. Yeah.
How much does this cost? Because we find out at the end that she gets her commission and she gives it to Judy Greer, and Judy Greer looks like she's going to die because she's so much money.
Yeah.
And I was like,
she goes, this is more than I make
curious.
in a year.
That's right. So I was like, I wonder how much it is. But
Also, Judy Greer's being underpaid, is what I'm hearing.
She must be being underpaid.
Let's say the commission was $30,000, which I feel like is a lot for a commission. Right. Judy Greer's making under that?
Well, that's what I was sort of thinking is, okay, the commission could be, let's say, 10%.
Yeah.
I don't know. In 2001, spending $300,000 on a wedding,
yeah, that's crazy.
That seems like a lot of money. I guess it could be
These
something
are San
they would
Francisco
spend,
society people. You did say that, and they are in
But
tech.
You're right, though, that let's say, I think $300,000, that's a big number. 10%, 30 grand.
Yeah.
Judy's making in the low 20s.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I guess it checks out. I think we've just done the math.
Yeah, we just did the quick math.
I think we just did it.
So
it's a $500,000 wedding today. Like 300,000.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. So you're right. She lands this account, and I think this is the scene where she then meets Matthew McConaughey because she's walking across the street.
Yup. And those hills.
On the phone. And
of course,
she's so busy. She can't even take time to cross the street.
Career woman.
Right. And she gets her Gucci stiletto stuck in a manhole cover, unfortunately.
Unfortunately for us.
And she keeps trying to get it out of there, and she can't. And the only thing that's going to get in her way is this large dumpster hurtling down the street.
Runaway dumpster. And I just want to say that if you listen to last week's episode, that was me on rollerblades flying down a hill.
Yeah.
I just want everyone to know.
What I really liked about this scene, and that we don't get this a lot in the physical comedy world of Jennifer Lopez, she could have died.
Oh, yes.
She would have died.
Experience number 1 of the movie.
She would. That's right. There's another one.
She could have died.
But she would have
died.
Most certainly be dead.
Yes. And the injury sustained, minimal.
Still serious. What she walks away from this with.
Okay, well, let's get there when we get there, because I have a lot to say about her waking up in a pediatric ward with a neck brace on. But he rescues her. He pushes her out of the way and lands on top of her, and it's hot.
Because and this is something we learned about women in this movie, is that she would rather die than lose her Gucci heel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're telling us.
Yeah. Or they're telling us she can't see. Which could also, or hear. She's on the phone. When I'm on the phone, I can't see or hear.
So Matthew McConaughey makes the decision for her that he's going to push her out of the way, which he does. And luckily, when he pushes her, her heel becomes dislodged, which is so helpful. And this is where I think they would have benefited from you being on the movie set, because this is a situation where I thought, wow, J-Lo's never fallen before. Because that is not...
That's not how you almost die on screen.
That's not how you almost die, and that's certainly not how you come to after a non-concussion fall. It was so strange.
It was so strange that I literally had to pause and I had to ask myself, is this going to be another magical realism movie for our podcast? Because I thought
she was going in and out of consciousness. She was falling all over him.
Saying weird shit.
Saying weird stuff. And what I thought would have been funnier is that if what had happened was that her heels had broken and she was literally stumbling all over like a newly born horse, but it wasn't. She was just performing what
a fall
she thought people who fell did, which was act like Gumby and just flop all over like a salmon.
I just go, this is the point in the movie where I thought, oh my God, she's going to lose her memory and ability to wedding plan. That's what I thought. I thought it was going to be I Feel Pretty with Amy Schumer. And she's going to come to and realize she doesn't know who she is.
She doesn't know who she is.
And she falls in love with Matthew McConaughey. And he's like, no, babe, no.
Right. Because you're watching this scene and you're watching her mutter words, fall all over the place. She's doing very intense flirting with Matthew McConaughey right away.
Yeah.
And
He looks terrible. Can't put too fine a point on it.
Oh my God, doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work.
And at a certain point she just blacks out. Like or the camera blacks out for whatever, and then she wakes up, like you were saying, in a bed, and she's surrounded by children. It was almost like Gulliver's Travels. Like she woke up and she was 30 feet tall, and there were just
there were little people crawling all over her. What are they
there
saying?
were children all around her who
where are these kids coming from? Why are they allowed in? Why are they allowed in her room?
Well, right, because she's wearing a neck brace, and we are led to believe that she most likely suffered a concussion or some sort of spinal injury. Mm-hmm. And a big no-no when you have head and neck injuries is that you're really not supposed to be jostled around.
Nope.
So to let these children have free reign to poke and prod and pull at her seemed like a little bit of medical malpractice.
Yeah, he should lose his license. That was insanity. I'm like, she's unconscious. You're going to let some children in here?
That's
was
right.
Was he like, hey, kids, go wake her up?
That's what it seemed like.
What was the moment before? In acting, they're constantly asking you, what's the moment before? What's happening right before this? Is Matthew McConaughey saying, get in there, kids? Like, what is going on?
Get in there, kids. But also, this again seemed to be a misunderstanding of what goes on at a hospital. And we find out that Matthew McConaughey is a pediatrician, or maybe, he's a pediatrician. And if you work as a pediatrician in the ward with children, that's not a place where children just go to hang out.
No.
Mostly the children are there. They are in a bed waiting for services. They were almost implying that this is a place where these kids gather to have a good time.
It's like their boarding house.
Right.
It was so bizarre that it was reminding me of like a children's cancer ward. I was like, do they just live at the here they have free reign of the halls?
It was strange, but they are certainly under the guidance and control of Matthew McConaughey, because he didn't seem
he's doing the grooming
too frazzled to find out that these children have woken Jennifer Lopez up.
No, he's psyched even.
What I thought would have been funnier is that if the bed was truly
if you're asking us,
if the bed was like a true child size and her legs and arms were dangling off the edge.
Oh, then the Gulliver's Travels thing would read too. I think that'd be a fun little nod.
Yeah, I think it would have been funnier, because let's play up the fact that we're in a children's ward.
Yeah.
So
then he just says, you have a big neck. And she goes, huh? Like we love your thighs.
He rips that neck brace off.
Oh yeah, I'm like, okay, spinal cord injury, head injury, rips it off. Just takes it right off.
And not that I needed the character to have a concussion. I would never wish that on anyone. But to justify some of her behavior, I think it would have been helpful to have heard that she was a
minor concussion.
She was injured. I think it would have been helpful for her character.
Let's do a little pupil check. You're fine. You're gonna be fine, but you've got a minor concussion. Let's take this brace off. You don't need it.
Right. So
nice and gentle.
She's putting two and two together, though. She's getting excited because this guy that saved her is also a pediatrician who seems to be so nice. And
also, are we skipping over the fact that he put her in a children's bed? Like, shouldn't he just walk her over to the local hospital and get her checked in?
Not only did he put her in a children's bed, but we also find out that he has run a battery of tests and different scans on her. And maybe this is the reason why she works at the bridal firm. You have to wonder what this is costing with her insurance. So maybe that is a plus for her working for the firm.
Maybe he did it all under the table as a favor, which would be nice.
We'll get to him and his like questionable character as the movie goes on, but they're definitely setting it up where it's a case of he's good.
Yeah. She's at this good man. Doctor, good. Fix her good.
Yes. And
she's okay.
Yeah, she's okay.
She's not tripping over her words anymore.
No, she's eyeballing him, and she's going for her exit consultation. And in the office. I don't know what they're discussing. And thankfully, Judy Greer has just gotten the call, and she's running through the halls.
This is an actress who understands moment before. She's just gotten that call.
she has just gotten that call. But what I loved about Judy Greer in this scene is that she also had not seen any of the other scenes that she was not in, because she's still acting like the first scene. So she hasn't seen any of the other performances, and that is to our benefit because she's still acting.
She wasn't
at
on
a
set
10.
very many days in this movie. She had very few work days. So she was just going off of day one.
Right. She's like, I know what to do. So she walks in, and she's the audience, right? She's us. We're saying, oh my
Dumpster?
God, you too. And she invites, well, I guess J-Lo and her already had plans, which is like even more bizarre, to go to a carnival that night and
watch a movie.
Which we find out is one of J-Lo's favorite things to do, is to sit in this park late at night and watch old movies.
Do you think J-Lo watched that movie ever?
No, never. There was
hell no, never.
Hell no. She
Not
was
even
probably
for
like,
research.
can we put on one of my movies on the screen? So
Made in Manhattan. No, it wasn't out yet.
Let's put that
wasn't
on.
out yet.
So Judy Greer invites Matthew McConaughey to the carnival, and there's some back and forth, but as the audience, I would say it like this: J-Lo is like Oprah in the movie, and Judy Greer is Gayle King, and we love Gayle. Gayle is just fun, and she's a friend that we all wish we had.
Hell yeah!
So
Sidekick.
She gets him to come to the carnival. Now, here's where I have to pause and say, and obviously I've seen the movie before, but I'm 99% sure that I even knew the first time that I watched. Clearly, he must be engaged to Fran.
Oh, see, I took the ride. I've never seen this before.
And I was just like, every time I'm just like, why are you going to this carnival?
It makes no sense why he says yes and shows up. Zero.
Well,
narratively speaking.
Right, because there's also never a hint that he is thinking it over, or
not even a lingering close up. Nothing.
And even in his office, as J-Lo questions his sister, who's photographed proudly in the back with a lip piercing.
She looks what does she say? Oh no,
I don't remember.
It's something like the implication of she looks unique. She looks strong.
So
weird.
So I understand that the movie is definitely bending over backwards to conceal the fact that he is not engaged to Fran. It just strikes you as odd that he's so easily convinced to go to a carnival with essentially two strangers. Yep. And
immediate.
And it's sort of like, how are you going to get away with this? I don't know.
Yeah, no, what was his plan? What was his backstory there? It's confusing. That's why I didn't see the reveal coming. I didn't see it at all.
Right. Okay. So they go to the carnival, which actually looks like a lot of fun. I would like to go to that carnival.
Looked fun, looked beautiful.
Yeah.
I just articulated to myself yesterday that I think if I could go to a theme park or a carnival every day, I'd get the stimulation that I crave. I think that's where I'm best.
Bright lights. Yeah.
I need it. I need to be alone in a crowd.
Right.
My question for you is, does she get this concussion and go on this date in the same day? Yeah, right?
Yeah, because Judy Greer says, tonight. Do you have plans tonight?
Jesus, man. So she goes
This is where I like Judy Greer, because clearly Judy Greer also thinks he's very attractive, but she is kind enough to allow the two of them to go at it.
Yeah. This was cringy. They're watching the movie. It's very romantic.
So romantic.
And this is where we find out that he throws away all the color M&Ms and keeps only the browns.
This is his defining character attribute.
Which is sociopath behavior.
It's so weird because he's also littering. He's chucking the M&Ms into the grass. And he's convinced this wedding planner that chocolate M&Ms are safer because brown is closer to the color of chocolate. Which is hard enough to hear once, but then we have to hear
it
twice. And the second time is when J-Lo gives it her take, and it's supposed to
Someone
be like
once said,
right, and it's just odd because
insane behavior,
right, You would think that they're watching an old-timey movie. You would think that the line that would be repeated would be some sort of quote from the movie.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Or something related to the task at hand, not
Nope.
M&Ms.
They're just like, look at this fun little quirkster over here. Quirky quirks.
But
also, I would argue on a date.
Yeah.
And now I'm harping because I'm just pissed.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do that. I think you'd cover it up.
What do you mean?
He's pulling M&Ms and throwing them. Just chucking them on a lawn.
He's acting unhinged.
Even if I do that in my real life on the first date, I'm going to pretend like I don't do that.
That's right.
And he's just the confidence to just throw these M&Ms.
Right. And maybe that is supposed to be our hint that it's not a date. He's just acting
Hungry.
up. And okay.
He's just bored.
Okay, interesting. So luckily she
moving
asks him to
on.
dance. He's like, no. But the police officer is like, yes. So
Dance.
they get up and they dance.
All they do is just slow dance. There's nothing fancy about it. There's no twirls. There's
No.
nothing. And she
They're
goes.
they're standing, basically.
They're standing and swaying.
Standing and
Literally.
swaying.
And she
And
goes.
we've seen this happen in 4 Christmases, but the weather in San Francisco is unpredictable.
Oh,
And
we
out of
wake up,
nowhere,
drops of rain.
drops of rain. Right
But-
when they're about to...
Worth noting, she
What?
goes, "Where'd you learn to dance like this?" And I go, "Dance like what?" He's standing there.
Standing.
There's nothing. And he goes, "Ballroom class. My mom had me in ballroom class." And his like Matthew McConaughey drawl. I can't.
It was... You're right. It was
Truly
strange.
can't.
It was... I would be more concerned with the M&Ms. I'd say, where did you learn that?
Where'd
and
you
like, let's go
learn
back
that?
to that. Because that's the more concerning behavior that I'm seeing, not your dancing.
Yeah. He's doing no dancing. None.
He's doing no dancing, and...
But okay, we can move on. They almost smooch. Rain foils it. You know, it's the middle of the movie. We can't have them kiss yet.
No,
Come
not
on.
yet. Oh,
Not
God,
yet.
no.
God, no. So then it's like the next scene is this the Ritz-Carlton? think it
No,
is.
I think the next scene is...
Or she's planning with Fran. She's with Fran.
She's planning with Fran, but don't they go to the dance class next?
Yeah.
So they...
She's with Fran.
Right, because it's
And Fran's
nice...
like, "You're different today."
Right, exactly. She's like, what is up with you? You can't focus. What is so...
Also, her hair's down. JLo's got her hair down.
Yeah, she's so fun, flirty, and fabulous right now.
And she's like, "Spill, girl. Like, what? Who is he?
Right. And we find out that J-Lo tells her basically all the facts of what happened.
Yeah. Dumpster.
And this is a part where I really felt like they were doing Fran dirty, because we learn that J-Lo tells her the whole story. But we also find out that Matthew McConaughey tells her the same story, but says that it's an old woman.
Old woman that he saved.
If I were her, I'd be like, wait a second. Because J-Lo also tells her that the person that was in her story was a groom to a bride that she was working with.
Poor
If
Fran.
I was Fran, I would have said, hold on, wait a minute.
This sounds eerily similar.
It sounds very similar to the story that you told me, and you just happen to be a groom working with Jennifer Lopez.
I know. I guess because maybe it's off screen.
Right.
We just have to assume that maybe J-Lo left out some impertinent details.
Yeah, but I think, you know what? I will give Fran some credit here and say that you're not dealing with a wedding planner. You're dealing with the wedding planner. She wouldn't do that.
Yeah, no,
So
she would
we
never
think.
do you dirty like that.
But okay, so they go to the dance class, and Fran, of course, has no problem like hearing all the details, and then we find out that
She's like, "I can't wait to introduce you to my fiance." And
it's Matthew McConaughey going
He
by a
spins
different
around.
name.
yeah. So he introduced himself as like Eddie or something.
Yeah, but his name is
And
Steve.
his name's Steve.
And we find out that
Ooh.
his last name is Edison, right?
Edison,
And
yeah.
he just goes by Eddie sometimes.
Sometimes.
Now, This
He
was
didn't lie.
this was probably my favorite scene in the movie because A, we got some dancing, and B, we got Chuck Willard as the dance teacher. And he was so good.
You're right. The bit players in this really do shine.
He was so funny. Like, he had
More
a
than
little
the
cane,
stars.
and he was like smacking everybody around and telling them to dance. And when J-Lo tries to walk off the dance floor, he like gives her a little tap and makes her get back in there.
Get in the
So
ring.
I did like the dance scene, and we've seen this before in other J-Lo movies, especially in second act. J-Lo loves to get trapped into a dance with someone she's having conflict with to work out the problem.
Yep.
And
I was gonna say this is zingers while tangoing.
right.
That's
So
what I'm calling it.
and it's a great scene because it just clears up all the confusion. Because I honestly, even this time around, I did find it confusing as to why he had two different names, Steve and Eddie. And
Very clear. He cleared it up immediate.
it
I didn't lie. My last name's Edison. People call me Eddie.
right.
I said, well, she's telling Fran the story that she met an Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Fran should know.
Right. So
Too good. It's
they
too
they
fucking
sort
good.
through all this, but J-Lo makes sure to let him know that she doesn't approve of his behavior.
Nope. Thank God, because we need her to have some agency back. She's already getting married against her will.
She's getting married against her will,
To
and
Massimo.
on the way out of the dance studio, Fran is like, "Okay, we're gonna go check out venues, and J-Lo, you're coming with us."
Come through, girl.
And J-Lo acts like this is something that she's never heard of in the bridal industry. She looks at her and she goes, "What? Me? Come with you to look at the venue?
Are you crazy?
Are you insane?" Now, if she had asked her to
This
fly,
movie has no idea what wedding planning is.
right? If Fran had said, "Oh, you know what? We actually want to get married in Hawaii now, so we need you to fly with us to Hawaii," I would have said, "You know
Then-
what? Maybe not." But
Then I'm not coming.
they were going to local venues in the San
Yeah.
Francisco Bay Area. This is something that I would demand the wedding planner come to.
I'm paying a 10% commission on a $300,000 wedding we've worked out.
Get in the car.
Get in the car, bitch.
now. So
And she does. She's in the back seat.
she's in the back
And
seat.
they're playing like potential wedding songs.
Right.
And we know from the opening that anyone who picks this one Olivia Newton-John song, they don't have their relationship doesn't
14
have very
months.
long.
14 months
14
they
months
get.
shelf life. And Fran lands on the song, and they decide on Olivia Newton-John.
That's right.
It's a nice
And
little.
again, this
nice
is where I
little
really
fun
this is where I
time.
really felt for Fran because they're
Poor
playing this
Fran.
sick game at Fran's expense, and she's just
Yes.
trying to do the right thing.
This is what I'm saying. J-Lo's a liar.
She's a liar
liar
face.
in this. She has the power to say, "Hey, this song, not a great track record."
Not
She
a great
lets
track
them walk
record.
right into it.
That's
she goes,
right.
Great choice. I mean, I guess it's a movie about free will. You know,
Sure. Something like
Steven
that.
just rolled his eyes for those of you at home.
It is. I think no. I think J-Lo
Sure.
thinks it. I think J-Lo thinks that it is about free will because her character
does.
and Matthew McConaughey's character have all the free will in the world at the expense of Massimo and Fran.
And Fran, they're
So
just pawns.
they get to the venue and I don't know.
There's like a gym. This is what I wanted to know.
yeah,
at
I
the
think they're
venue.
implying that it's some sort of hotel
Hotel.
area. I wasn't 100% sure how Massimo ends up showing up at the at the venue.
He's like, "I'm here to surprise you. I am your fiance."
Right. He's
was a
he's
bad
letting
Italian
us know that
accent.
he's Italian. He's letting us know
Yes.
loudly that he is Italian.
Mhm.
And I think to your point, they're also trying to underscore this idea that he's Italian, but he's not from Rome or Milan. He's
No, this is a
from
country
the
boy.
country.
Yeah.
And that is something that as an audience we're supposed to disapprove of as if he's not
Ooh.
worthy
Ew.
of this other Italian Jennifer Lopez. So
As if they're not on the same playing field.
which is funny because what the movie says is that they come from the same village. So anyway,
should be perfect. Should be
it
a
should
match
be a
made in
perfect
heaven.
pair.
That's
So
my experience.
That's right.
My
So-
grandparents came from the same village.
And Massimo is so charming in a sense that he doesn't seem to be trying to do anything wrong, and he legitimately and we find this out later from Jennifer Lopez's dad, but this is a cultural tradition for people in their area where it is an arranged marriage. This is not something that like is being made up for J-Lo. This is something that her father did. So there's some sort of
they invent arranged marriage.
They didn't invent it for Jennifer Lopez. So
yeah,
it's hard to watch this scene and be mad at him because he is probably just doing something that he's seen family members do for a while. And we can look at it and say, oh, Jennifer Lopez has no agency, which she doesn't. Like, she has none in her marriage to Massimo. But I think it's another way to watch it where you can say, okay, but Massimo's just doing what he knows.
Yeah, he's doing country boy. He's doing naive. Like, they're looking for somebody who's... And they get that with the shorthand of that he's Italian, just in general. They're like, oh, you know, something's a little lost in translation with this guy. That's right. He doesn't fully get it.
He doesn't get it.
You know, they do like a little male contest where they're like running on a treadmill and both doing pull-ups. And I'm like, this is weird. This is a weird... I thought this was the fun and games section, but I think the fun and games section doesn't start until Fran leaves. But
I guess so, but...
It's weird, but then shortly thereafter...
What's weird about the two men competing is that nothing is resolved.
Just makes no sense.
It made no sense, and...
McConaughey is like fighting for J-Lo, who's not his fiance.
And Massimo has no clue what's going on, and he's
Massimo's
just having
posturing, being like, this is a fun little competition, little pull-up competition between us.
Right.
They're running on the treadmill, they're doing pull-ups. Fran and, you know, J-Lo are in the next room actually wedding planning, which is
allegedly
pretty key.
And so it's a weird scene where it's busy, but there's not a lot happening.
It doesn't further the plot very far.
It does become fun when Fran's mom and dad show up, who we both mistakenly thought was Mary Steenburgen.
Mary Steenburgen.
But it's not. It's another actress who is talented in her own right, but she's not Mary Steenburgen.
She's not Mary Steenburgen. I literally went, oh my God, Mary! And I wrote it down, like all excited.
That's right.
And then I texted you, not Mary.
And she shows up on horseback with her husband, and these two do a comedy routine for the ages. They are singing.
This is Abbott and Costello. I love these two.
It was so funny. They start singing Red River Valley, which to me is such a funny song because it was also in the movie Wild at a very, very serious moment. So they're taking
serious.
They take this very serious, sad song.
I loved it, especially like in one of the first scenes where Fran's like, "Mom, you will not be singing at the wedding."
Right. They tee us up for that.
They tee us up for that. Yeah, it's a little assist.
And what's funny is that her singing is so bad that it spooks the horse. And again, Jennifer Lopez almost dies by horse.
Near-death experience number 2.
That's right.
And it is scary. It is so scary.
It's so scary.
The horse is going very fast.
Yeah. And luckily, Matthew McConaughey is able to save her, and they sit in this very intimate seating position on the horse. Very
intimate. J-Lo is...
They're very close. So they're enjoying each other's company, and Mary Steenburgen, who's not Mary Steenburgen, arrives on the scene, and she's like, okay, that looked really stressful, but I brought the wine, and she pulls her wine out of it.
We got it.
Which I can only pray was a decision she made on her own. And wasn't in the script.
Yes. She went to craft services and she was like, no, she went to props.
A bottle of Merlot, please?
And she went, I need a bottle of Merlot now.
I have an idea. So
and the director was like, take a seat. And she was like, wait.
Yeah. So I guess we're supposed to continue to believe that Jennifer Lopez and Matthew McConaughey are falling in love. And again, after this, we get what I already talked about, which is the scene where Jennifer Lopez finds out that her father was in an arranged marriage, and it actually ended up being a really positive experience for him.
Yeah, they started as just like arranged, but they fell in real love.
Yeah, and I thought it was actually a really sweet moment in the movie where
I was wondering if Dad is okay. His speech patterns, and I'm like, are they just trying to say he's very low IQ? I don't really know what they're trying to say with him, but it was sweet. It turned out sweet. I started concerned, and then I got endeared to him.
I think like what they're also trying to convey here is that he's getting choked up telling this story. He
Okay, I can
is,
buy that.
and it and the way that he's delivering the story, which is hard to believe, is that this must be the first time that Jennifer Lopez has heard this, because otherwise she would have said, I've heard this story before.
No, she's shocked. She can't
She's
believe
shocked.
her parents had an arranged marriage. She's like, I thought you loved Mom. And he's like,
Right.
I did, but here's how it started.
That's right.
Arranged.
So I think it's helpful because it then allows Jennifer Lopez to consider a relationship with Massimo, and she's going to have to really consider that because Fran is going to leave. She has to go on a business trip, which is going to allow Matthew McConaughey and Jennifer Lopez to plan the wedding, and they have this scene on the lawn of one of the venues.
Insane.
And they're touching the statues, and Matthew McConaughey is telling us how he just wants something super small and he wants something chill where it's just friends and family.
And J-Lo does the quiet acting again where she goes, that's how I would do it too.
That's how I would do it too. And then he has to make
He doesn't want a big wedding.
He has to make a dig at Fran, of course, and says that Fran wants statues. And then they start horse playing with one of the statues on the lawn.
And the statue tips over and
breaks off one of the anatomical pieces.
I was putting you to the test to see how you were going to handle this.
One of the male reproductive organs, the male reproductive organ, falls off.
J-Lo goes, you castrated him. We'll just say that. I was trying to put you to the test to see how you were going to say it. It was dead.
So
they break it off.
And
it's this is like, what's this movie rated?
This is crude. This is a crude scene. And Jennifer Lopez,
PG-13.
The wedding planner, is also still wearing her utility belt. So she takes out her crazy glue. And I guess it's the first time that Matthew McConaughey has ever used glue before, because he puts it
on the wrong side.
He puts it on the wrong side, so he ends up not gluing the reproductive organ back on the statue. Get this, he glues it to his hand.
Crazy.
So crazy.
In that moment, I'm like, okay, this is funny. All right, funny little gag.
It's a funny scene.
But I'm thinking in like this lighthearted little like romp of a movie. You don't really want to be using a lot of insert shots of the piece broken off, let's just say. Like, if it was a nose, fine. If it's an ear, fine.
If you brought your preteen daughters to see this movie,
you're covering her eyes.
I would have said, what's this?
I would have said, go get the snacks now.
That's right.
But they're doing... So I'm like, okay, funny, great. I was like, there's no way they're going to linger on this. They do many insert shots of this broken off phallus. It was never ending.
It was never ending, and then we have to get the
glue off his
involved.
hand. Yeah, security comes and he's like, "Sir, get your hand off of the bulge."
Right.
And McConaughey's like, "Okay, just give it a minute." I'm like, still holding it there. He's waiting for the glue to set. So we think. Pulls his hand away. It's stuck to his hand. We get a whole other scene.
This is one of those moments, and we've been guilty of this too, where things sometimes appear to be a lot funnier in the moment than they actually are. This was, I bet they were really laughing on set, and I bet they really thought to themselves, guys, this is going to be the scene. This is it. This is the funny scene.
This is their bridesmaids, like you're shitting in the street. This is that scene.
This is there's something about Mary moment. Yes. They are thinking this is going to be
Mary moment.
It's going to shock the audience. Meanwhile, when it plays, I just couldn't wait for it to be over. So
this is their Harry Met Sally. I'll have what she's having.
Well, I think what you have to keep in mind,
funny moment.
You have to keep in mind that both of these characters are engaged to other people, and we're also just coming off of a scene where, for the first time in the movie, J-Lo is going to take her engagement seriously with Massimo.
Yeah, she's starting to really consider it.
So
we believe it. It's sweet.
It's strange. So
the fact that they linger on her pulling the stone piece off of his hand too, I'm just like, get us away from this scene.
Right.
It is uncomfortable.
Because all that they're trying to communicate to us is that they are in love now. There's no denying it. look at this fun moment. They're going to remember it forever for the rest of their life. So
I'm just like, this is not romantic enough,
right,
for them to be lingering on this scene.
And then it just like felt so terrible, because the next scene we go and she goes to her father's house, and then there's Massimo, and now we have to have another uncomfortable conversation where he makes her mac and cheese, which is so nice.
It's cute.
It's
He's
so
gonna make you an American meal. And
Massimo, who has the only ability to read a social situation, is saying, you know what, I can tell something is up here, and you're clearly not in love with me. What is going on? And I think this is a really cute scene where he says, well, you just said that we're friends, so let's be friends. And friends tell each other how they're feeling. And I thought this was the most adorable scene in the movie.
It just felt real. Like, finally, we're kind of getting to something real. And if the movie does anything well, it's endear us to Massimo.
Right.
It's like we're kind of not really sure about McConaughey. He seems shady.
He's really shady.
Going to the carnival was like strike number one.
Oh, so inappropriate.
J-Lo is like betraying our trust a little bit. Like, we're like, huh? What is this behavior?
Yeah.
But Massimo is behaving like a human. And I'd also argue Fran is behaving like a human.
Fran is behaving like the human. And, right.
So it's nice.
Massimo is truly the only character who's able to call it that they are actually in a relationship, and we just need to name it.
Yeah.
And even in the next scene, I think this goes to your point about Fran, which is that in the next scene we find out that when Matthew McConaughey and Fran met in college, they were sort of the inverse, where Fran was this cool girl who was so wild and kind of had all this fun, and he was a little bit more of a loser, or just not as.
And she picked him,
right,
which is cute.
Right,
it's a little play on J-Lo's speech from the beginning, which is like, I can't believe he picked you.
Right. And then we get a scene where J-Lo finds out that her ex-fiance, someone we've never heard of before, is also...
this was bizarre.
It was
late
so bizarre.
minute addition to the movie.
Right. So she finds out that her ex-fiance is now pregnant or married, and his wife, who he cheated on Jennifer Lopez with, this is information that's spit at us in 30 seconds, is now pregnant.
If you guys feel shocked at home, we were just as shocked.
Well... what they had implied in the movie is that this is a woman who almost has never been on a date, never been in a relationship, never kissed a guy. That's sort of the extent that they're like pushing this.
Yeah,
and then
those
to
who
find
can't
out,
wed plan, she says.
Right. Then to find out an hour in that she was engaged to a man felt like we were not... This is not the woman we thought she was. So
she's a liar.
She's a liar face.
She's a liar.
So she's upset, obviously.
She's real sad.
She's so sad, and
she gets drunk, right?
She gets drunk, like Fran did in college, and
yeah, and it's a real great San Fran scene.
Right.
I love San Francisco in the movies. I'm gonna go find more.
We actually saw a similar scene like this in The Sweetest Thing, where you're so drunk that you can't stumbling up those hills trying to find your apartment.
San Francisco
really hard.
Seems hard. It seems like a hard place to live. Those hills are scary.
Right. And Matthew McConaughey takes her home, tucks her on the couch, doesn't put her in bed, and she's
doing some drunk acting.
She's doing drunk acting, but unfortunately I can't give her a great drunk acting award because...
No points.
She does this thing where she does the I'm going to sober up in 10 minutes acting, where she is so drunk when she gets home, but then after a quick chat where he tells her to drink some water and take 2 aspirin, all of a sudden she's alert. So
yeah. She's great. It's like those movie minutes.
Yeah,
double time movie minutes.
Right. So she comes in blacked out, and in 10 minutes she could drive a car.
She's sober. She could drive a car. Don't drink and drive.
Don't drive a car.
Don't drive a car.
Matthew McConaughey, and I guess what is supposed to be an endearing scene, confesses his love to her when she's basically so drunk, which is like this is again where I had no respect for him, because you're gonna wait till
Wrong
she's
moment, buddy.
so drunk that you're gonna finally feel confident to say that you like
I
her.
know. Coward. I was like, nothing can happen in this scene. They're painting the idea that she's too drunk. I was like, it's not that kind of movie.
No,
So
and I did
he's just
appreciate
gonna
at
be a
least
coward.
that she does put her foot down and say
Like, no.
no. So I did
Yeah.
I did like that, because I think the movie would have really fallen apart if they did get together here, because we have nothing that we can use against Massimo or Fran, and
nothing.
they're
They've
just
done
being
nothing
so
wrong.
inappropriate.
Yeah. So the movie, wow, Star Vehicle, talk about tying things up in a neat bow.
Yeah.
We pretty much instantly find out that Fran is having cold feet. Like within the next few scenes, she's like,
Right.
it doesn't even make sense.
We go to her office the next
That
day,
word,
and
you know.
J-Lo is giving her hungover acting where she's like, ugh. And then Fran is there, and J-Lo convinces Fran that she needs to still marry Matthew McConaughey.
And I'm like, again, you have all the information, wedding planner. You know that this is not going to work out, and you're still choosing to let free will take over. And
Right.
she's telling Fran it's going to be fine, and Fran is saying very much, I don't think we should be married.
Well, I think there's also something to be said where Jennifer Lopez is selling a service here. Of course she wants the wedding to go on, Fran.
Oh, it is a movie about capitalism. Wow.
Right. She's not going to miss out on this commission.
This is a payday.
It's a
I'm
payday.
so
She's got to
dumb.
cash in. So Fran
I hate when I take the
hears-
emotional ride.
Fran hears what she needs to hear, and she decides
She's
to
like, we'll keep it going.
continue at the wedding.
Mhm.
And
The timelines here are pretty hilarious. Because
Right.
Right
I guess
on,
I think
where
in
do
the
you wanna
next
go?
well, then we're like hurtling towards the end. And then the next scene I felt a little bit confused by, because I thought they were already engaged, but Massimo then proposes to Jennifer
Proposes.
Lopez.
Yeah, I think he does like the proper one.
Right,
I
in
think
front
it
of the
was
fam
like,
in the Scrabble
I've already
team.
asked Dad, and Dad said you can have my daughter's hand in marriage, but I think he wants to give J-Lo that American proposal, like that
Right.
feeling of I'm asking you.
Right.
And does she accept?
Yeah.
Okay, she says she doesn't say I do.
No.
But
Don't you remember what she does? You don't remember?
He wheels in the house
She spells okay on the Scrabble
on the
board.
Scrabble board. Ugh. Gross. So she doesn't have to say it.
Right. She just doesn't have to say it. And
You did that when you got proposed to, right?
yeah, put it on a Scrabble board.
You took your rack out.
So, and again, this is one of those things where it's like, you know what, J-Lo, if you're really not invested in this, then you need to say something, because he's a nice guy and he probably would be a lot of fun to hang out with.
Yeah,
So,
speak up, girl.
Conveniently, J-Lo's wedding is scheduled for the same day of Fran's wedding.
This is what I wanted to, I can't believe it. In terms
So-
of movie timelines, this is crazy talk.
And we begin with Fran's wedding, and what's really funny about it is that J-Lo has waited till the day of to tell Judy Greer that she can't stay for the wedding. So she's like,
Yes. Yes. And I'm like, okay, biggest account ever in the history of this firm.
ever,
of the
biggest wedding
year.
ever.
The account that's going to get her partner. I got to
Right.
run. I have a hard out.
That's right. So she's right. She has all of a sudden she has a conflicting.
She has a
event.
prior commitment, and she's
She's-
got to go.
She's got to go, and poor Judy Greer. It was really not fair for her, and
Yeah, the whole wedding got
she-
stuck on her frail little shoulders.
fair little shoulders. But she does say that she'll get the commission, and you would have to scroll back to the math that we did at the beginning. But we're just gonna say it's a lot of money for Judy. So. And
She's not going to
J-Lo,
clear it all.
Not
Like,
very
it's
fiscally
pre-tax.
responsible. She says to her, "Yeah, and we're gonna go shopping next week. You're gonna spend all your money."
She goes, this is more than I make in a year. And Jill goes, well, I guess we have to go shopping next week.
Yeah, because that's
And
what
I
women
said,
do when they get a big paycheck. They go
shop.
shopping.
Yeah, don't invest. Don't put it away. Don't pay off loans. Shop.
Go shop. They buy makeup and umbrellas. So they
Umbrellas.
separate, and Jennifer Lopez is going to do like a classic City Hall thing.
What's
and
with her outfit in that?
She looked like she was 90 years old.
Why did they do the matronly thing? They put like a little cap on her and that little like
Yeah,
that
she was wearing
mesh.
like a Jackie O pillboxy hat with a little veil.
Yeah, what was that
And
choice? It's classy J-Lo. I don't know.
right.
Maybe they're just saying this is a more buttoned up marriage. It's very
Again,
traditional.
if this was what her mother had worn in her wedding, it would have made sense. But
And a
the
photo
dress,
would have been nice.
right? Some like she looked at the photo, right, and then she looked,
Yeah.
and then we see in the
Maybe
mirror
they
that she's.
did. Did I miss it? Did I miss a photo?
Think so. I don't think
Nah.
so. But
Yeah.
and then Matthew McConaughey. This is being interspliced, guys. We're going back and forth, back and
Yeah,
forth.
it's a real fun back and forth.
So Matthew McConaughey pulls Fran and says, "Let's go take a walk." And he has this grin on his face, and I just wanted to smack it off his face.
Slap it off his dumb head.
And this was, I don't even know how I feel about this scene, because on the one hand, it was incredibly manipulative, and on the other hand, I appreciate that Fran was the one that got to end it, but it still felt so murky as to who was calling the shots here. But essentially, Matthew McConaughey says, "I will marry you, but you know that you don't want to marry me, so you decide."
Yeah, I was okay with it because we got the Fran scene earlier in the movie, and I think that the screenwriters knew what was up there. They needed to show us that Fran was having doubts, but Fran got talked into staying.
Yeah, and I did
by J-Lo's lies.
right. Yeah, I did
So-
actually. I thought the best scenes in the movie with Matthew McConaughey were actually the scenes where he was sitting with Fran and they were laughing in the park and just saying, "I can't believe we let it get this far."
Yeah,
I
it
actually
was
thought it was
cute.
so refreshing.
It was very cute. They were both on the same page there,
They're
and that's what the movie wanted you to think.
And then when he puts her in the cab, and then we find out that she ends up taking the honeymoon and going to Tahiti,
It's cute.
I thought it was so wonderful.
And Judy
It
Greer's
was-
like, "Where's the bride going? Is she coming back?" And he's like, "Nope."
And I did feel bad for Judy Greer because I really hope she did get the commission. I mean, all the money was spent, so
Yeah. Imagine. They're like, "Oh, sorry, no commish."
no commish for Judy.
I want a Wedding Planner Part 2.
Right,
And it's Judy Greer's origin story of how she became an evil genius.
right. Or Judy hops on a plane to Tahiti, meets up with Fran, and then they start a wedding planning business
In
website
Tahiti.
startup in Tahiti.
Oh,
So Matthew McConaughey goes to City Hall.
He's running across town to City Hall, right? More crazy cross cuts. While the wedding's going on with J-Lo and Massimo, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Speak now or forever hold his peace."
Right. Okay, but I was confused in the scene where he was going to City Hall because his mode of transport is a Vespa. And I was like, and the guy who was driving the Vespa was talking in like an Italian accent. And for a second I was like, wait, is that Massimo? But
that
I
him?
knew it wasn't. But it was so confusing where we only have one character speaking in a really heavy Italian accent to then have another one driving a Vespa. Randomly.
Yeah.
But he gets
They're trying
there.
to really slap you over the head with the Italian in this
That's
sometimes.
right. This is
Dad,
Italian
too.
culture. So
This is peak
they
Italian
play
culture in San
Scrabble.
Fran.
That's right. The infamous Italian enclave of San Francisco.
I
So
have to talk to some people who live there.
So Matthew McConaughey gets there in the right time. There's a real who's on first moment outside where they're all like,
Wait,
"You're the guy? What guy? Who's J-Lo?
She loves him.
You?" And Massimo,
Poor
for better or worse,
Massimo.
has to be the one to say no.
And it's so cute. He's like, "I would rather," he doesn't say this, but "I'd rather die than get in the way of your true love."
That's right.
And they've known each other
And-
for one and a half nights.
That's right. Right. And this is a weird moment because it now they don't get married in this scene, but it sort of implies like he's going to walk in there and marry her. But he doesn't marry her in this scene, right?
No. Dad
Okay.
goes, "Wait, you guys are in love with each other and none of you got married today?"
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wait, what?
And
That's
I
how
really
people
thought to
talk?
myself, and I had the same reaction after we watched Sweet Home Alabama, and this is where the movie ends. But I said to myself, either out loud or in my own head, I said, "This is not going to work. They're not going to
Same
last.
couple.
There's no way.
Same
There's
feel.
no way.
I didn't think they
These-
would last not one day.
Not one day. He doesn't
Bad
know her,
casting.
and she doesn't know him, because very similar to other JLo characters, the only image that he has of her is a lie. And the only image that she has of
Made
him.
in Manhattan. Lie.
That's right.
Relationship
Wait,
founded on
actually,
lies.
we sort of forgot that he doesn't talk to her at the church. Remember, he goes to the park.
Yeah, we forgot. I was about to say, when's the scene where she's pulling M&Ms and
Right.
chucking
So
them?
after the wedding, he finds out that Jennifer Lopez has absconded the ceremony, and
Yeah,
he
also
knows where
didn't
to
get
go.
married.
So
Yeah.
they end up having that scene at the not the drive-in movie, the sit-in movie, I guess, in the park.
Yeah.
And
cemetery
she's the one
movie
now
park thing.
obsessively chucking the brown M&Ms into the pasture.
Yeah.
And
he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, someone once said
no,
that it's less artificial colors if you eat only the brown M&Ms because chocolate's already brown. And we're supposed to scream with excitement.
We're supposed to be so tickled. And
So funny.
She finds out he didn't get married. He already knows she didn't get married. And we're good. Kiss. And
no sexual attention. No warm and fuzzies from me.
No.
This is the danger of a star vehicle, I think. I'm going to go ahead and put my neck out there and just say, when you're casting just 2 stars to just fill space in a movie, I think you're definitely running the risk of having no chemistry.
Well, I think you make a good point there, because some of the other vehicles where there's been a love interest, the man has usually been a nobody.
True.
And they're not competing.
Monster-in-Law.
Like in Monster-in-Law, Sweet Home Alabama, the female star has always radically eclipsed the man.
Yes.
And I felt like in this movie, our 2 stars were pulling light so strongly in both their directions, or at least trying to.
Yeah, it was a 2A. It was a straight line with 2 arrows on the end.
Because I think you could have, in this, we haven't seen that many times. I think you could have gone to this movie as a diehard J-Lo fan, and I think there were people that went to this movie as big Matthew McConaughey fans, and were attracted to him, or people were excited to see J-Lo, and it's almost like it colors the way that you watch the movie. But like I said at the very beginning, what I found is that I really enjoyed the kind of the bit players, and especially Fran and Massimo, a whole lot more than J-Lo or Matthew McConaughey's characters.
Those leads are boring. They're written boring. This is like my senior year when we did Beauty and the Beast. And I exclaimed, I don't want to be Belle. She's boring.
She's boring and she's rude.
Yeah. I was like, I want to be Mrs. Potts.
That's right.
Because she gets the best song. And would you know that I was cast as Mrs. Potts?
I mean, I knew that.
Did
but
you
I
know
also,
that?
But
you also would have guessed as well.
I also would have guessed. So I think it was an interesting movie in the sense that I think it makes sense that this was 2001, and I think ever since then we've seen the vehicles for J-Lo become more and more focused on her and a better fit for her personality, especially when we get to something like second act where we're confident that she's no longer Italian, but it's also...
I was going to say, this is the last time she was like, I'm never playing Italian again.
She's never playing Italian again. So in
First
that
and
sense,
only.
it was helpful to see. On the other sense, or on the other side, I think that it left a lot to be desired from a typical J-Lo movie.
Yeah, weak in all the areas that we want it to be strong in. For J-Lo.
Now I will say this. My blood pressure skyrocketed after the movie ended in a good way, guys.
Oh, in a good way? Okay.
Because as soon as the credits hits, we hear the opening notes to Love Don't Cost a Thing. And I was like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.
It felt so good. It felt electrifying.
I guess maybe I was hoping for a little bit more from the soundtrack, but that was where everything came full circle for me. Just especially getting right off of Legally Blonde, which has the soundtrack of all soundtracks.
Right.
There's no sound.
I can't name a note in this movie.
No, exactly. Nothing is like iconic.
I don't think there's any songs in the movie.
Well, okay, so like I kept feeling like the opening song when she's playing with the Barbies, I kept feeling like I should know what this is, and I don't.
I don't even remember
Like
it.
the opening of Parent Trap when they're like, "This will be," or no, that's the ending of Parent Trap.
That's
An
yeah.
everlasting love.
That's
Like,
okay.
yeah, I really went for it. I was hoping you'd
Okay.
like it,
Thank
but
you.
he didn't.
Okay.
Steven didn't like
Well,
it.
I think that I think it was an enjoyable, or I'm glad that we watched it. I will probably have to take a break from this movie for a very long time, but
Yeah,
it
I
was
won't catch it again for a tight 10
yeah
years,
10 years.
not months.
So, but I'm glad that we added another notch to our J-Lo belt. And
Yeah, it's all gearing up for a very fun February, I think.
Fun
So get
February.
ready. I want everyone to know that. I want to leave everyone with, you texted last night, this movie's a mess in all the best ways. And I just think that that's
yeah,
fair.
it's a mess.
This movie's a mess, but I love a mess.
Yeah. Because you're Italian, so you would connect
And I'm
with
Italian.
that messy kind of Italian culture that they're.
Oh my God, when the Italians at the Ritz-Carlton were trucking plates, which I don't think we really touched on, that was another opportunity for Judy Greer to go full kooky.
Yeah.
They're throwing plates at the Ritz fucking Carlton.
It
And
was a
then
great
J-Lo
scene.
goes, if you can't beat him, join him. And then she throws a plate at the floor.
She drops like 30 plates on the ground.
I was
all
like,
on a set.
Italians do that. I don't know if it was an Italian wedding, but they were implying that it was because I feel like they were doing like some sort of Italian cultural dance. Some tarantella, let's just say.
Anyway.
And
Well-
literally anyway.
Well, I
Anywho.
would say thank you, J-Lo, for another interesting performance. And I would say that this will not be the last time that we talk about Jennifer Lopez. And I will leave it at that.
Oh, hell no. We will be seeing her again shortly.
So just please continue to subscribe, rate, review, download, catch us on YouTube, catch us on TikTok, catch us on Instagram. We're everywhere.
Twitter, we're tweeting up a storm.
We're
Guys, we are
everywhere.
light on the reviews. I want to read. I want to wake up to a review, please. It's
Let's
it's starting
see.
to get annoying.
Let's see if we can will that into existence.
Yeah,
And because
I'm gonna
remember,
speak
reviews like love don't cost a thing. So just
Free.
type it. Okay. So anyway, we will
Yeah.
see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye, Steven.
Bye.